Do you have a vet school interview coming up and you have absolutely no idea how to prepare for it? Can't find enough resources online on vet school applications? I'm here to help. Hey friends, welcome back to this channel. My name is Mayan and I'm a final year at Cambridge Vet School. On this channel, we discuss vet school things and personal development, and in this video, I will share with you some insights on interview prep when applying to vet school. Back when I applied, I remember feeling so frustrated at the lack of vet school resources out there. There were countless medical school tips and applications, medical advice, and none for vet school. I remember being one of the only 2 people attending a talk in my college on how to apply to vet school, and when I approached the girl who was also applying, she said that vet school was going to be her backup if she didn't get into med school. Backup, in case she didn't get into medical school. Really? Vet school as a second choice? Anyways, I didn't see her again after that. If you are struggling now, fear not, because I am here to help. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have with me Harriet Semple, who's a mixed vet.
Hi, I'm Harriet. I graduated from Liverpool in 2019. I also did an integrated year at the RBC. So yes, I'm excited to be talking to May today.
To do the veterinary course, you will have to go through an interview process. Today we'll be breaking this into 3 sections. The personal questions, general veterinary knowledge, problem solving, case scenario sort of questions. So the first section about personal questions. I've been asked the typical, why do you want to be a vet?
Yeah, I was asked the same, and like most people I had something prepared in advance. But I think the important thing is to really use your unique selling points. So if you've got something that you've done that's a bit different, for example research, public health, if you've been to an abattoir and you've got that experience to draw on, so having something to talk about is really useful for that, not just the generic, I love animals.
Yeah. What they always ask, like, how do you spend your free time? Because I think it's kind of important that they know you have a hobby or something on the side that you can wind down after school or work, because the vet course can be quite stressful, right?
Yeah, being able to describe how you manage your stress, so you can sometimes having a story about a stressful event that you've been through, exams, or maybe something that didn't go so well, and being able to have an anecdote of how you coped with it. So you went for a run, you went and did a team sport.
They can ask you, describe a difficult moment in your life and how you overcome it. So I think if I didn't prepare about this question, I'll be like, I don't know what difficult situation. So I guess preparing it in advance would be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. When you're in a stressful environment, it all just leaves your head. So having something that you can remember to go back to is really handy.
And rehearse, I think.
Yeah,
rehearse.
definitely. Yeah, if you can. It doesn't have to be a vet, it can be a biology teacher, it can be a friend, it can be someone's parent, It's just experiencing questioning in a formal setting. So sitting across from somebody and actually having that.
Helps you practice to be in that mindset, to be professional, to be like, okay, I should say this. And if you stutter at first, that's very normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the more you do it, the more you practice these mock interviews, the better.
Definitely, yeah.
When you answer these questions, you have to be honest and be yourself. Because if you try to pretend that you're something you're not, usually the interviewer can sort of sense it, isn't it?
And they want to know you. Like, the whole purpose of the interview is to find out what you're like as a person. They've seen your grades. You've got the interview from your experience. So now it's about just showing if you're right for the course and for that university.
Yeah, and don't be shy or afraid to talk about your passion. Like, if you're really passionate about animal conservation, for example, like just talk away, and the interviewers will be blown away. The next section will be about general veterinary knowledge. What I find in interviews is that they will ask you some animal welfare questions or about animal ethics. So it's pretty useful to read around the subject.
I remember one of my interviews, they showed us pictures of different animals in different ethical situations. So we had a dog in a wheelchair, a pig in a farrowing crate, and it was just about discussing what you see in the picture and, if you have issues about them, and how as vets we can discuss these issues and decide on whether they are going to impact on the animal or not. Something that we as vets, we base a lot of our ethics on is the 5 freedoms. So if you've got an idea of what they are, look them up, remember what they are in the exam, and you can then base a lot of your decision making off of them. There's no right answer, but it's being able to show you can have that discussion.
Yeah, and it definitely will impress your interviewers if you read up beforehand about like the RCVS Code of Conduct. So RCVS is the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, which is basically the association or organization committee that takes care of the vets, regulate the veterinary profession. And then the 5 freedoms I'm not going to list them. The 5 freedoms, I'll list them in a picture. And current animal welfare issues that are hot topics, especially if you're applying to the UK or if you're applying to a different country, search what's relevant to that country. So the UK at the moment, when I applied, badger and tuberculosis was quite a hot topic.
Yeah, still is today. I mean, there's still lots of debates about, you know, which course of action we should be taking, and also BOAS, so flat-faced dogs. With COVID and the recent puppy booms, you know, that's going to be
COVID puppies,
issue.
pandemic puppies. I think that's going to be quite a hot topic.
I would be surprised if that wasn't brought up. So just having an awareness of what's going on in the country around you and what the different views are. You know, it doesn't matter what your view is, but being able to give a balanced argument is going to make a difference.
And another things I remember reading up about is euthanasia, the guidelines of euthanasia, like why vets do it and what the general opinion about it is. So useful to read around. And I think you can find that information in the RCVS Code of Conduct. So I would really recommend skimming through. It's very long, but like don't panic about it, but just like read about euthanasia. I would say 5 freedoms, pretty much.
I guess COVID and vets continuing to treat animals, because we've sworn an agreement to protect animal welfare and to look after animal health, but then we've also, part of that is also public health. So you know, there was quite a conflict within the profession itself as to whether we continue to work in order to safeguard animals or whether we stop working in order to try and safeguard humans. So, you know, there's no real answer.
Right answer.
Different practices will be doing different things, but it's kind of having an awareness of how COVID's impacted vets.
Probably, definitely. Moving on to the last section, which is the problem-solving section. These are questions such as case scenarios, the what would you do in this situation questions. I think the interviewer wants to know your thought process and your values and your morals, I guess, and like how you make decisions. And it'll be really useful if you answer these questions by thinking your thought process out loud, so you know how you come to that conclusion. So in your experience, what sort of questions do you think?
So a popular one is giving you a scenario where you've got, you know, 10 people waiting in the waiting room and you've got to sit down either on your own or sometimes it's a group work project, so they're looking at how you interact with people and how you discuss things, and you know, you can't just bulldoze in, but again, you can't just sit back, you know, you've got to get your thoughts across too. So and triaging, so you probably want to start with the dog that's most serious, so something that's bleeding out or something that needs to be seen in the next 5-10 minutes. Then also there's often something about clients, so if you've got an angry client in the waiting room that's been waiting for ages or feels their dog needs to be seen first, you know, maybe talk about how you're going to deal with that. So maybe making use of receptionists or nurses, you know, other team members that could help you out.
So besides these what would you do questions, there are also some academic questions where they give you a graph and they ask you to interpret it, and then you just have to look at it and see, like, for example,
it's like pattern recognition. I remember there was one with maternally derived antibodies. So that was a graph and it showed you time over antibody, and you had to look at it for a certain amount of time and then discuss with somebody what you saw and what kind of patterns you think you're looking at. I think I got it totally wrong when I did it, but he was like, you know, you've got it wrong, but you know, you've seen that the time and the volume interact. You know, you can read a graph. You may not know anything about maternally derived antibodies at this stage, but the fact that you could
recognize where the minimum values and the maximum values are, and just make a comment on it.
You don't have to get it right. I think that's the main thing. You know, you can get it completely wrong and they'll still like who you are and like your thought processes, so don't let it spiral you out, don't let it panic you and freak you, because it could be that you're doing really well and you just don't realise it.
I remember in my Cambridge interview that he asked me to draw a phospholipid bilayer structure, and I just draw like a circle and 2 squiggly lines, and it was like, that's a blob, and I was like, oh, okay. And then he talked me through about like, okay, phosphate, how's that molecule look like and everything, and then it became more like a supervision, sort of like tutorial instead of like an interview. How was it like in Liverpool? Did you?
Yeah, so it was fairly similar. I remember at the Nottingham exam, we had to do like a rough clinical exam of a dog, and obviously you just basically look over a dog, you know,
Yeah.
look in its mouth, look on its face. And they showed me something, it had a little skin tag on its head. And at the end of the exam, they said, do you have any questions? And I said, well, what is the skin tag and what should you do about it? So I think not necessarily knowing the answer, but showing an interest in finding it out, that's a really useful skill to show that you've got.
Yeah, especially towards the end when they ask you, do you have any questions about the vet course? I think that's a really good time to ask questions.
Yeah, and show you've looked into the course and things, and that you know details about that university. So if it's a systems-based learning or if it's a species-based learning, you know, show that you've actually looked at it and understood it, or if you don't want to understand it before you go there. So
do your homework, show your enthusiasm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then I think another common one would be calculating drug doses. I think that's pretty basic because we, on your day-to-day career.
You do it a lot, and it's a very simple maths, and I think it's just showing that you can understand how to follow a rough guidelines.
Yeah, so probably I would recommend looking up practice questions online just to get the hang of it.
I think just stop and take a breath. If you read the question, you don't have to act straight away. Take your time, breathe, read the question, read it again, and then start. You know, you can waste a lot of time panicking and fumbling and then you realise you've not actually read it properly. So
yeah, and definitely if you suddenly feel stuck, try and think your thoughts aloud. So instead of just keeping quiet and not saying anything back to the interviewer, then you could be like, oh, could it be this, and this, or like, what about this? And then, you know, just to...
Because again, you're not expected to know the answer. It's to show how you're thinking. If you don't tell them how you're thinking, they can't assess it.
Yeah, they don't know how you're thinking, basically.
So just talk. I mean, don't be silly, but you know, just keep talking through your process.
Yeah. Any last general tips and advice, would you think?
I think just stay calm, you know, breathe, think, take a second to think about what the question is, ask for confirmation if you're not quite sure, and if it's a multiple mini interview setup, if one station doesn't go that well, you've got to compartmentalize, leave it behind, fresh piece of paper on the next one, because the art assessor doesn't know what's happened at the last station, so don't let it freak you out. They want to know who you are, what you're like, and if you're a good fit for them. And you know, you can't be a good fit for every university either. So you know, you want to do well in everything, but actually you're probably only going to get a couple of interviews and maybe only one offer out of all of them, but one offer is better than nothing. So don't be disappointed.
And even if you don't get an offer the first time around, I know there's many other vets who have applied twice or even 3 times, so it's definitely possible. Or entered using a bio-vet degree.
There's a lot of different methods and a lot of different routes in, so don't give up.
Don't give up. Okay, thank you so much for your time, Harriet.
Thanks for having me.
We hope this video was helpful. Take care and all the best, everybody.
Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of vet school things, here's a playlist where I talk about vet school with other vet students and their experiences. That's all, stay safe and sending you all the Vetty love. Bye!